Landlords told to increase rent by 20%. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because landlords in Brisbane are being told by real estate agencies to increase their rents by 20%. Now, we have a rental crisis going on in Australia at the moment where rents are getting insanely expensive. Let's bring up and let's have a look at the asking prices from SQM for Brisbane rents. Just wait for a moment while that loads up. And I just want to bring up another chart here to show everyone while that's not, come on. It's broken. Brisbane rents. There we go. There, see, I had to reload it, but we can see here. There you go, guys. All houses, $630. Now, the change in 1 year, we're looking already for all houses up 19.9%. Three bedders, 14.1%. So rents are just going nuts here in Queensland, in Brisbane. In Brisbane in particular. It's the rest of the regions are pretty bad as well. Rents are going up, guys. They certainly are going up. Now, I want to show another chart to you all. This is to do with immigration to Australia. Well, it's annualized a lot higher. So this issue, this rental crisis that we're facing, isn't going to disappear anytime soon. And it's going to make it harder for first home buyers, but it's going to incentivize other people to, well, it's going to incentivize people to get into a property, a house that you can own. A Brisbane real estate agency has urged landlords to consider raising rents by more than 20% as Australia grapples with a worsening rental crisis. Now, there'll be people there going, oh, you know, the evil landlords taking advantage of people. But there gets a point where if your rents are too far off the market, the ATO will do you. You won't be able to claim as many deductions, or they will consider it based on a higher rent. You know, you can't put your rent too low. An email sent by Ray White West End, of course West End's insanely expensive, asked landlords if their properties were being under-rented before advising them to increase rents by more than double the rate of inflation. West End's going crazy, everyone. It comes before the Queensland government is set to hold a housing summit this week to deal with rising homelessness and rental stress. The email said the agency was finding that many landlords are not being provided with the information they need to make an informed decision, and were being advised to sign long-term leases with rent increases of only $5 to $20 a week. Our property managers have been reviewing all our lease renewals and on average recommending a 17% rent increase on the leases renewed in October and November this year, the email said. As we are planning December lease renewals, the average lease renewal recommendation is above 20%. This can be as much as $10,000 per year in additional rental income. And it is West End. You know what? I'll bring up Google Earth so we can have a look at this suburb, because some people may not be familiar with Brisbane. It's, very inner city. I was driving there today, actually, I had some work out there in the city. I went through there. So here we go, Brisbane. We're flying in. Okay, now, if we look here, this is the CBD, right here. Here's South Brisbane and Sunnybank. Beautiful here. Beautiful. Here's the cultural precinct of the city. You've got Queensland University here, QUT, and you've got University of Queensland over here, a bit further up the river. This is West End here. We used to have an office actually around here, and it was horrible getting in and out there because of the traffic. You could, a lot of people could live here and you could catch a ferry or a bus into the city, but it's still a very close area to the city where you can get a house to live in. I mean, sure, they are shotgun houses, like very close together. There's some bigger ones. They'd be worth a fortune, these places. They really would. Oh, look, a little smart car. So you can still get a house very close into the city here in West End. And well, you've got more and more apartments coming up in South Brisbane as well. A bit further out. All along here has been developed. Where was it? We were in Karupa Street. There's the Aldi. We were up here. Let's have a look. There you go. That's where we were. In there. Let's see if you can still see Heise Architecture on the sign. Oh, nope, you can't. Not anymore. They got rid of it. We'll have to see how far back we can go. But still, I mean, all of this was new. This was new in the time we went there. All this here is definitely new. That's new. That's new. I remember there was a bikie gang who used to be in here. I remember the coppers took him away one day. All of this here. I wonder how long that whole food place is going to stay. All of this, these apartments, all coming up everywhere. So it's just crazy. This part of Brisbane is so close, and you're right near the river too. And, well, you can flood as well there. So I'm not surprised that you've got real estate agents telling people to get more money for their investment. Now, here's another interesting thing. You've got, where is it? State High. State High. Where is it? Hang on. I should know. I drove past it today, didn't I? Here we go. Brisbane State High. A very popular high school. And I was actually talking to a gentleman at a party, and he's got this theory. And I think it's something we need to look at on the episode. He suggested it. That you've got the schools, like Brisbane State Highs, intentionally, perhaps, manipulating their OPs or their final scores of their student, it's not OPs anymore, to kind of ensure property prices in the area are high. Discouraging the, let's say, less gifted students from actually sitting for their tertiary entrance exam to inflate the value of their school and the property near it. What do you reckon, guys? You think that could ever be possible? So yeah, this is a very good area. Beautiful part of Brisbane here. I mean, you've got New Farm, but New Farm's a little bit it's more difficult to get into. Here you can really get to the city a lot easier. You've got Kangaroo Point, but it's kind of all, the big cliffs there and a whole lot of, I lived around there. It's just harder to get into the city than good old West End. And it's kind of a bit bohemian too, or at least it was. It's where we'd go and smoke the shisha pipe and hang out as students. Not anymore. Now, you can't afford any of that hippy-dippy stuff there now. It's all been gentrified. So, the agency claimed most tenants are agreeable to the rent increases, saying when they look at what is available in the market for rent, they understand that it is fair and reasonable. On average, apartments in West End, Highgate Hill, South Brisbane, CBD, are renting for a one bedroom for $480 to $520 a week for a one bedder. Two bedrooms, $675 to $850 a week. Now, bearing this in mind, everyone, how much these properties are getting, these are just for the apartments too, they're going to be market support for property prices because they're getting some nice yields. When people are saying property's going to fall 50%, I'm just... Okay, fantastic. Then everyone will just run and snap them up for the rental returns. Or you'll have all the people renting going, damn, I'll jump in. So, you've got to temper such fantasies, honestly. If you're not achieving those rents at a minimum, you should be asking why. The chief executive at Tenants Queensland, Penny Carr, said the email shows the opportunistic price gouging that is occurring across Australia with rent increases. Opportunistic price. No, it's... Obviously, this is an article from The Guardian. They're going to portray it in a particular way. What this is showing you is how the market works. That's what it's showing you here. We shouldn't be complaining that landlords are making money on their property. We should be complaining at why it takes so long and difficult to build apartments here. What is the government doing to make it easier for more property to get built closer to the city? And really, should we even have detached housing this close to the CBD in Brisbane anymore? We're not in the 18th century, we're not in the 19th century, we're not in the 20th century anymore. Should we I mean, a lot of it is designated at much higher density, but should it all be? And should you create financial incentives to densify close to the city? Maybe that's what we need to be looking at. Rents are unaffordable for people at the moment, and tenants are having to absorb increases because of fear of not finding another property or becoming homeless, she said. Well, if you want cheaper rent, you've got to move further out in the city. You've got to move further away in the suburbs, and you will get cheaper rents. But then you've got the less of the benefit of being so close, which isn't bad if you're working from home. Then it doesn't really make any difference, to be honest. I had a scanning job today, so I drove in early in the morning. I don't miss the commute at all anymore. And I never really had much of a commute. The longest I had was 30 minutes. Or, well, actually, to be honest, when we were in Karulpa, I think we were renting a place in Kangaroo Point at the beginning. That was a little bit of a drive, actually. It was a bit annoying, to be honest. And now we're further out, so I'd probably catch the train in like my neighbour does. He says it's relaxing. No family, no wife, no kids, just quiet time on the train. We should only allow rent increases above CPI if they're justifiable and there's been major work to the property or something had to be replaced. Then they'll always claim that, or they'll kick people out then and just replace them. This is the thing. You've got people with an ideological position wanting to impose limits on the market, and that always causes problems in the end. It never works out as much as people hope it does. Look at rent control. Never works. Creates a black market, reduces the incentives for people to maintain their property, reduces incentives for more supply to come onto the market. And that's the issue. We need more supply. Carr said the email dispels the myth that the land tax proposed by the Queensland government for interstate investors would have supercharged rent increases. Well, no, we'll see that. It doesn't dispel the myth at all. You give it a time. Let people get that first bite of the tax. But luckily they backed down on that stupid bloody legislation. Rents have been going up phenomenally for the last 18 months. That's because of vacancy rates and supply and demand, she said. Another thing to consider is people like me. I'm renting a house now. I wouldn't have rented a house if I wasn't doing renovations. Now, we've been planning the renovations we've been doing for a house for some time, so it's not that big an issue. But how many people are in the rental market because of home builder, because of extensions, renovations, or building new houses that maybe didn't need, wouldn't have been in the rental market beforehand? I think I saw an estimate 50,000. That's adding increased pressure on that sector. You can't dismiss that, guys. She said the introduction of a landlord register would provide more transparency for the state government, providing them with information to guide policy. Why? What? I mean, this is more bloody work and bullshit and registers and government information. I mean, come on. If you want rents to be cheaper, get more housing available to people. It's that simple. And it's not going to be a quick fix, okay? It's not going to be a quick fix. It's too late now. How many of the people that would support all this garbage from this organization, these interventions into the market? And I mean, these are green suburbs. These are green voting parts of the city here. They've got green councillors. They've got green members of representatives. And you've got, a green councillor arguing against cheaper development out near Ipswich. Okay? So you can't have it both ways, guys. If you're voting for these lunatics that want to interfere in the market, you're going to have to start paying more for rent. And you probably, the Bohemian Rhapsody type people smoking your shisha pipes, that's all going to disappear. Well, they got rid of that anyway once they changed the smoking rules. It was good fun being a student. It's kind of sad how much it's changed in such little time. When asked about the proposed increases, Principal Realtor at Ray White West End, Luke O'Kelly, said rental affordability will worsen if investors lose confidence in the Brisbane housing market. Over the past 12 months, Brisbane has had some of the strongest population growth in the country, and this has most clearly shown up in rental growth. Right now, Brisbane doesn't have enough homes for those who want to live here. With rents rising so quickly, Brisbane needs more property investors. O'Kelly said population growth and flooding had pulled properties out of the rental market. It was therefore a relief that the state government recently pulled back on proposed changes to land tax, which would have discouraged interstate investors, he said. Now, he's obviously in the industry, but he's right. It would have discouraged interstate investors. Australians paid an extra $7.1 billion in rent over the past year, with the average renter spending $62 more a week on rent than they did a year ago, or more than $3,000 a year. This is why people want to get into property. Oh, here we go. The Greens. Housing and homelessness spokesperson Max Chandler Mather said the email showed urgent intervention is needed to protect tenants against unfair rent increases. Why are these rent increases unfair? It's called the market. It's this sort of flagrant price gouging. This is what is he the guy who only worked in the Apple store and now is in Parliament? This is the problem. This is what. Anyway, so let's have a bit of a talk about this one, guys. As I said, this isn't price gouging. This is market supply and demand. The issue is there isn't enough supply. You've got people bitching and moaning about a suburb where you've got detached inner city houses very close to the heart of Brisbane. That's a luxury. Okay, that's a luxury. And it's the not in my backyard crowd. It's the people limiting development and people wanting to keep the old heritage buildings. And sure, they're nice, but I mean, come on. We've got to move with the times. There's lots of Queenslanders there. You can replicate them. You can rebuild them. They're just spec homes from 100 years ago. Are people in 100 years' time going to be oohing and ahhing over A.V. Jennings' spec home? Because that's what's happening. You've got to allow more development. You've got to allow increased supply. You've got to realize that, well, the areas where you're living are going to change. If you don't want that, you're going to have to shut up and realize that rents are going to go up and some people are not going to be able to afford it. Those are the two options. Or you could go full interventionist and then just stuff it up even more. Have a look at all the issues that are happening around the world. But that involves having a bigger perspective and learning from others' mistakes, which sadly I don't think a lot of Australians tend to want to do. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Is it price gouging or is it simply market supply and demand? As always, thanks for watching. Check out my other channels, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International, for other content I create. And if you're a fan and want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links on Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Good old West End. I miss the shisha bars. I'm getting old.